All right, my people. Hello, hello. Let's talk a little bit about the fight to abolish slavery and the fight for women's right to vote. I'm just doing it because I'm reading this fancy book about suffragists because I want to get people in prison the right to vote. I want to see them get full suffrage and vote on things like whether their crimes should be legal or not. I am not afraid of a majority legalizing murder. I don't think that will happen. But some people might be. So let's talk about Margaret Fuller and Frances Wright and other suffragists. The era's morally driven women, of course, were more than a little ambivalent about Wright and Fuller and the harm that this radicalism did to their shared cause of abolishing slavery. Those who hoped to influence a public that still believed in slavery as both economically necessary and divinely sanctioned could not afford the distraction and credibility loss that would result if they associated themselves with advocates of free love. The paragraph before, they talk about communal sex. We're talking about orgies in the 1900s, orgies of the past. That's a hot topic. That's a burn. That's a third-degree burn. It's so hot. Here's Margaret Fuller herself being just beautiful, huh? And I like this lady the most, Frances Wright. You know what, though? The next sentence is where it gets interesting. Some abolitionists, however, were prescient enough to understand that, whatever the intentions of reformers, the public inevitably would link the agitation for women's civil rights with that of blacks. Already at this embryonic stage of the movement, they understood that the best approach was to work for justice for both women and blacks without forcing the two into a false competition. And so these suffragettes were black suffragists as well. They wanted black people out of slavery as well as the right to vote for women. And I'm interested in today's sexism and racism overlapping as well. And I'm excited about the idea of people rejecting both at the same time, because that's such an improvement. And the process by which you undergo that transformation is fascinating to me. It's all I want to hear about. I want to hear people that say, yeah, I used to be a fan of Catboy Kami, and then I discovered that anti-Semitism is dumb, and that I'm for women's liberation and the legalization of sex work and pot, the legalization of cocaine and heroin, the need to get innocent people out of prison. Every day that we neglect this is another scar and a terrible blight on our reputations. What we should do, you and I, right now, is march on the nearest jail and go through the records and see who we deem legitimately free. And let them be free. How many of them have paid their debt or have reformed, or how many of them still need to be rehabilitated? It's an interesting question, one that is not going to get solved by the judiciary. People in robes will never go to the prisons. They don't go. I've seen judges that have never been to prisons except for crappy tours. And yet they're throwing away people for decades, for life, taking people's lives. Have a good day. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you help me legalize sex work and drugs and rock and roll. And also legalize speech, for goodness sake. Let me have my name on Facebook, even once it gets offensive. Just legalize speech. Let me violate HIPAA laws and get people on camera with nothing but a verbal consentment. Consentity? A consentity only exists if it agrees to. And a consentity does exist because it consents to exist. Consentity is a cross between consent and entity. And these ghost entities pop into existence and out of existence just like that. A dissentity dissents to exist, and that dissent makes it disappear. This is the world we live in, people. There are 11 spatial dimensions in quantum mechanics. This is the world we live in. Zo123. Bye. Thanks for watching. Take care of yourself. Goodbye.